I am Jonathan Waller, and my current role is as a sustainability assistant. It is a very junior role on the set. A little bit of it is working out logistics. There's also managing how sustainable the production is on a day-to-day basis, how you can sort out the sustainability of the project going forward, how you can monitor it as it progresses, and things you can do on the set to make sure that it is as sustainable as possible. Water bottles, for instance, is quite a big thing. So you have days where you have background on set and you have 200 people. How do you get water to them? Where do you put that water? How often do you get it to them? How do you manage how it gets to the set in terms of how it gets through in a van and all sorts of things like that? And then there's also stuff to do with waste, how it's transported to the site and how it's got rid of, how sustainable that is. It's all those sorts of things. It's the little bits in the background that help make the set run well on a day-to-day basis, basically. You realise that the logistics of everything, how difficult everything is, and even the smallest job is actually really important, and if you don't do it very well, it really stands out and it can actually put the production down. You end up also getting involved with lots of the departments, which is really cool. So you get to talk to camera and locations quite a lot. You get to go and see, you get to go and recce all the sites as well beforehand, so you get to see the preparation that goes into it from the different departments, from props and the sound and the electrical department, and how they're going to fit into sites and how they're best going to, get the work across when they're filming and things like that. So it's really interesting from that point of view. Then you have to work out stuff logistically as well, and you also get to see a bit of the filming, which is really cool. It's the coolest part of it. So yeah. Definitely seeing filming. The buzz when you get scenes that are really intense or really special are just fascinating. And so before I did this, I was an SA in the background for a number of films. So I did some sort of high profile productions. My first one was 1917, and I was part of the 650 guys that did the trench run. So at the end of the movie, when George runs across and all of the guys are running between him and the camera, when you see that and you get the buzz of that happening, that was just incredible. For a couple of days it was brilliant, and we did this scene over and over again. You got to see charges being laid and explosions going off and everything like that, and it was superb. And then after Sam Mendes came out and made a speech to us and said how grateful he was, and it was really cool. So that's definitely the best bit when the cameras roll. Building contacts and sticking with it for long enough, because I think it's very easy to get disillusioned very quickly. I mean, I was an SA for 4 years, and as soon as I got onto a set, I thought I would love to do this and love to be here. I want to be a script writer anyway. I've done a couple of courses and I've been away and I've worked on short little things as well anyway. It's sticking with the process. It's only really when you get on the set and you see how the different departments work and how people know each other. It's just making that first step is the hardest part, I think. And then when you're on a set and you're talking to people, making contacts and sorting out jobs for them and doing favours for them and they're doing them for you, and you're getting closer to them, it's much more easier then to make contacts and for people to point out opportunities for you and stuff like that. But one of the great things I think about my first job in film is that it offers you a gateway into jobs, and it offers that possibility, because I think it's still, to a certain extent, it's still a little bit closed off, especially if you're not from that sort of background, or none of your family are anyway. I asked around on sets after I got on 3 or 4 and spoken to people, I sort of got the confidence to start speaking to them about how I might get into the industry. I was first of all recommended Mandy, which now I've learned doesn't really happen anymore in film. It was more of a thing that happened a few years ago. And one of the guys on the production said that someone from my first job in film had got a role on that production through the website. Advised me to sign up, which I did, and it was relatively cheap, £10 a month. And when you think you can get a career out of it, it's well worth the investment. I would ask around, if you can, just get into. There are groups on Facebook as well where you can join and you can ask people for advice. Because when I first did my CV, now I look back on it, it was hashed together a little bit too quickly and it wasn't specific. It didn't point out skills I had. It was a little bit too dense in text form as well. So I think the best thing to do is to get some basic info about yourself at the top, list experience that's relevant to the industry, and then afterwards talk about yourself a little bit and just end it there. It doesn't need to be any more than a page long. To producers, they're really busy people. They just want to look at the very basic nuts and bolts. talk to as many people from the film industry as possible and get advice from them. They know the cheat codes essentially, and they will tell you the best things that you can do. They can tell you specifically to you as well, so you can cater it a little bit more to yourself, I would say. In terms of when you get on the set, just be punctual and just be willing to do anything. You know, I mean, I'm only 9 days into my first job, and I'm still very green, still learning, still trying to adapt as quickly as possible. You do get stuck doing a lot of things that, is not the most glamorous of things, but hopefully they will lead to better things in the end. And just, embrace the challenge, and try not to get stressed too much, which is pretty easy on the set. You'll be surprised just how many millions of small jobs there are that are massively important, that make a big difference. So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to certainly try as much as I possibly can. I mean, I've only read of the sort of famous examples where guys and that have done minor jobs on sets and built out the resume. I think it's helpful as a writer as well, because you get to see things on the ground, how they actually work, and it can help you think about, when you're going about locations. A really interesting thing when you see it. There's so much more that goes into it than you think about, unless you've been on the set and realised what it's actually like. I'm definitely going to keep up my creative side, and I would, say every little helps to anyone who's looking to do the same. Highly recommend it. It's the reason that I got a job in film. So I have my first job in film to thank completely for that, really. I'd just say to people, just apply to as many jobs as possible and keep going really with it. There's a really good selection of jobs. From what I'm being told as well by people in the industry, there's loads of opportunities that are going to keep coming, especially in the next 2 to 3 years. And just jump on whatever job you can and go for it, really.